Alright, so we're checking out the Oukitel WP33. This is another one of these Android rugged smartphones, but this one has an even larger battery. It's a really ridiculous size. It comes in at 22,000 milliamp hours. So my last rugged phone review had a really big battery, like 10,000 something milliamp hours. This is more than double the battery capacity of that one. And so obviously the phone is really big and heavy. I put the dimensions up here on the screen. It's about 577 grams. So obviously not going to be for everybody. And it's going to be for those of you that really are going to need long battery life. You're going to be off the grid for a while. One of the scenarios that someone mentioned to me in the last video was that if you happen to go, like, say, camping or hiking and you're off grid for many days, maybe up to a week, then 10,000 milliamp hours might not be enough. But according to Oukitel, this should go a week, a full use pretty much, every day for 7 days, no problem. And you can also use it as a power bank because it does have reverse charging. So I think you can charge like an iPhone 15 like 9 times, something like that, something crazy. Because it does have, through USB-C, you can charge up other USB devices through this, not just phones, but other USB devices, so it's kind of nice. It does have fast charging as well, up to 33 watts. So the reverse charging can charge something else at 18 watts, but the battery internally here, if you charge this phone, will charge up to 33 watts. And so it's a huge battery, but because it's so fast, it only takes about 4 hours to charge, so pretty nice. So quick look around the phone. I'll cover more of the specs here. Nice large display, 6.6 inches. It's 1080 by 2408, so they're technically calling this a full HD plus display. Yeah, for this class of phone, it's going to be fine for most people. You're not going to be able to see any tiny pixels or anything like that, but it's a very good resolution. The display is Corning Gorilla Glass 5, so obviously it's going to meet all the durability specifications. It's military grade durable. It's IP68 waterproof, rated to, I think, 1.5 meters depth, submersible up to 30 minutes, IP69K, I guess, water or splash proof. So you can actually can withstand high pressure water splashes. And that's what the IP69K durability rating is for. And of course, it's got a lot of this, metal here and very thick plastic on the corners to protect, the screen and all the components inside. So the corners here are this really thick, hard plastic rubbery material, the bumpers. So this is where most of the damage will occur when you drop it. So very durable there. You have nice metal here. You got a microphone port there. So the corner here also plastic. You got your this is a dual SIM card and micro SD card slot. So this phone has the capability of having 2 physical SIMs in here, so dual SIM plus an eSIM. So you could technically have 3 phone numbers on this phone if you need it. Not sure who that would be, but if you're one of those guys that needs multiple phone numbers, this phone can do that for you. Got a programmable custom button here right out of the box. It's not programmed to do anything. Again, on this side, nice metal finish here all the way across. And you got your bumper again there. On the bottom, you got your Type-C USB ports for charging, of course, and also for reverse charging. And back on this side here, I forgot to mention, you got your volume rockers here to adjust your volume, like so. And then this is your lock and unlock button, also the fingerprint reader. So on the back here, you got this kind of unique leather strap here and this metal, like sort of like a key ring type of holder. So they were imagining a scenario where you're going to put this on a backpack or something like that, and then attach it with some sort of clip or something. You can hang it off of a backpack like that, so it's not readily available. This can also slide up, so then you can use it as a grip. So you can put your hand back here, and it could help you grip the phone because it's quite heavy. You can also use it as a stand, so you can put it like this and then lean the phone over like that for, hands-free viewing and looking at the phone, etc., web browsing, stuff like that. So it has multi-functions here, but if you don't like the strap, you can use these screws to remove it, and it can come off, no problem. The back here, again, is this sort of hard plastic rubbery material. This phone, it feels really solid, feels like a tank. Just super premium feel in terms of the build. Just really, really nice overall. On the back here, you have 3 cameras. So you have a 64 megapixel main camera. You have a 20 megapixel night camera and a 2 megapixel macro camera. So I believe the main camera is this one, the night camera is this one, and this is the macro camera. I'll show you some examples of the kind of photos you can take with each of the cameras. Obviously the night camera is for low light. You got a flashlight over here, pretty bright. And here's another feature that sort of makes this phone stand out compared to others. Huge 5-watt speaker built into the back of the phone in the into this camera area. 136 decibel speaker, super loud. You're going to want to use it outdoors, and indoors it's really kind of crazy loud. Actually, it's probably, in my opinion, probably too loud. Yes, it can reach those kinds of levels of sound, but above about 60% volume on the phone, it starts to distort pretty severely. Maybe if you're outdoors and you're kind of further away from the phone, it might sound better. But when you're kind of close to it, it also kind of depends on the kind of music you're listening to. But depending on what you're listening to, it can be, the audio can be kind of distorted and not very good at that volume level. But, I guess they're envisioning this as like a all-in-one type of phone, power bank, long battery life, very super durable, can be used in all kinds of scenarios. Maybe you need, loud audio, maybe in a camping scenario or something like that, where you don't want to bring an extra speaker. Something like that could be useful. It's plenty loud even at like half volume. It's incredibly loud even at half volume. So I can't imagine going full volume with this. It's just way too loud for me. But if you need 136 decibels of audio, this can punch that out. So the processor on this phone is a MediaTek Dimensity 6100 Plus. It's an octa-core processor, has an Antutu score, benchmark score of about 420,000-ish. So in terms of processing speed, for most, pretty much anything, videos, gaming, except for the super high-end gaming, you're probably going to be totally fine without any sort of hiccups in terms of freezes or delays in terms of the CPU being too slow. It's plenty fast, especially at that benchmark score. It's going to be very comparable to all the other phones in this price range, if not beating them by a mile. And this chipset does have the capability of connecting to 5G networks, so pretty much connects to everything: 2G, 3G, LTE, and 5G. Plus, it's got all the Bluetooth, all the Wi-Fi networks available to you. So if you're worried about this being able to connect to anything that you currently have, this should be able to connect to all those without any issues. So this is running pretty much stock Android. It's Android 13. Not a lot of bloatware on here. There's a few little tool, like pedometer. They have a tool bag, for example, and the sound meter. So you can see here, as I'm talking, the sound meter is adjusting the decibel level. And you got some other tools like the compass, a picture hanger, magnifier, protractor, etc. So these aren't things that are using up a lot of space on the phone or using up a lot of resources. And you got some other basic apps like the torch for the flashlight, FM radio, sound recorder, stuff like that. Pretty basic stuff, video player, and of course the camera. Let's take a look at that real quick here. So I think the cameras on here are mainly focused towards taking photos. The photos are pretty decent quality, but the videos are limited to I think 2K, or like basically 1440p is the maximum resolution for any of the video modes. So if you switch over to video, like here, and go to your settings, if you click on video quality, the most resolution you can get is 2560 by 1440 or 1440p. and they obviously 1080p is the default. So the camera quality, as typical for most of these rugged phones and cameras in this price range, they tend to use sort of, I mean, they're still using Sony sensors, but I think they're using like lower end Sony sensors, and they're not putting as much, I guess, R&D into the camera software. I think that is where the difference is between like cameras on phones in this price range versus like a flagship phone that costs, $1,500, which is I think what, 5 or 6 times as much as this. That's where I think the difference in value is in terms of what those cameras can do and those capabilities versus what this can do. And the biggest difference is going to be in your video modes, because those cameras can do 4K video and 10-bit color and all this fancy features that this phones in this class, this price range, just don't currently have. That doesn't mean that these cameras are completely useless. It's just, if you have good light, if you don't care about the highest resolution video, we can still capture decent video, but you're thinking, it's probably more like sort of low end range from maybe like 5-6 years ago. It's still decent quality. It's just that up to the latest, top of the line phones, it's just not going to measure up. But of course, that's why the price point is so much lower. So as I mentioned, can do 2 SIM cards, plus you have an eSIM, so that's what the eSIM manager is for. Standard Android 13 here. Again, this runs very fast. There's no bloatware on here. Typically, like these rugged phones from like a couple years ago, they would come with all kinds of stuff that you didn't care about. They would just use up your storage. This is not the case here. In terms of storage, we have 256 gigabytes of onboard storage, and of course you can use a micro SD card for additional storage. You can see here, there's hardly anything on here in terms of bloatware. It only uses 17 gigabytes. So interestingly, this particular phone comes with 12 gigabytes of actual RAM. It's not currently using the memory expansion feature, which I think it can go up to 24 gigabytes of RAM. You can turn that on if you want, but from the product page, the link that they sent me, it looks like this is only going to come with 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'm not 100% sure why that is. Maybe there's 2 different versions. They weren't entirely clear about that. I got this as an early release, so it's possible they've adjusted this to 8 gigabytes, because that's what I'm seeing on the product page currently. So not sure if that's maybe the product page is outdated, or the phone has been updated to a lower level RAM. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I do want to point that out in case there's sort of misunderstandings about what you should be getting. I would go with whatever the product page says, and for whatever reason, I happen to get a little bit more. I don't think that unless you're running a lot of apps concurrently, it's probably not going to matter as much. But I do want to point out that there is that is the difference that I should point out. And then, of course, the Android version here is Android 13. So overall, very impressed with all the features of this phone. Not everyone's going to need the giant 22,000 milliamp hour battery and endless days of power on time without recharging it. So obviously this extra weight and the size, the bulk, isn't going to be for everybody. It's going to be for a specific type of user that just is going to be off-grid for a long time, and they absolutely need that battery power, or they just want to use it as a power bank, and maybe they just want the durability features, the rugged features. It can handle a lot of abuse. It's kind of a phone. It's in that price point where you don't really care too much about damaging it, although I think you would have to. It would take quite a bit to damage this phone, because it just looks like it's built like an absolute tank. It's not doesn't feel rickety at all. No creaks. You can't twist it or anything like that. Super solid overall. It just feels like a tank overall. Anyways, in case I missed any of the features, that if I didn't cover anything particular that you're interested in, check the link down in the video description. They'll have a huge product page. It has like every detail, every spec you can possibly imagine. In case it wasn't covered in this video, you can go to that product link and it'll show you the latest price as well as every feature this phone includes. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give the video a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. That'll do for this one, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.